Hi Leah, welcome to your Mercury Direct mid-September reading. So this period that starts now, or started 2 days ago, it lasts until about mid-December when Jupiter will go direct. Venus went direct in Leo on the 3rd, and Jupiter turned retrograde on the 4th. So here we are, Leo. First up, the Ace of Pentacles. The money will come, but it will delay itself over the next 2 months, and then it will show up all at once. So it's there, it's promised, but if right now work and money just seems to be in a stasis, it will, inshallah, go in your direction. It just needs a minute. That's one of the delays that you feel because of this Jupiter retrograde. Now, moderation and wisdom. Very, very important right now to act in moderation and to be very wise in your movements. It's really easy to mess up your reputation right now. It's really easy to act impulsively and do something that you cannot take back and that ultimately smears you, right? Be very, very careful, especially when it comes to interacting with others. If you display any sort of taking behavior, any sort of like parasitic tendencies, if you are not cognizant of the people around you and what they need, if you're not considerate, right now it will come off really bad. And much worse, actually, than you even intend to be. Like, you may not have negative intentions at all, but the way that you are being viewed is so critical right now that it's best to be very careful about how you behave, what you say, especially what you don't say, okay? Now, you want connections, sure. But it does feel like nobody's good enough. It does feel like you are a cut above. And even though what you're asking for isn't too much, you don't feel like you are, being too demanding. It just doesn't seem like anyone's around that fits the bill. And for some of you, you may have tried during this Mercury retrograde to make something work, but it just became obvious over the last 3 weeks that it wasn't going to. There are fundamental differences between you and this person, and although familiarity is there, like we talked about last month, the commonality wasn't there. So if it took you a few weeks to figure that out, that's okay. Now we find ourselves at, is there anybody around that even comes close to my list? And that's, that can be a little bit disappointing. It can make you think back to partners perhaps that were not so bad. I mean, that's like the kiss of death for a Leo. Yeah, that person's not so bad. But yeah, for some of you, it may cause you to lower your standards. It may cause you to, turn to a sort of piteous situation perhaps just because you need attention. But the point is, your heart's not in it. You're not impressed by what's out here. And for some of you, you're even pretty disappointed by what's out here. Just be careful that that doesn't turn into anything aggressive. Because once you flip that switch, it's very easy to have your whole life kind of put on display. You're skirting the edge of the stage right now. And that's great, and we want to stay right there. Okay, now, talking about the stage. One of the things that comes up from now until December is how much you allow other people to shine. This can be a really taboo subject with Leos because you spend so much of your time deflecting people's envy and just trying to shine on your own, that to speak to you about allowing other people to shine is maybe it's hitting a little close, it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be. The thing about letting people shine is that you can allow it by channeling your energy to them. You don't have to step out of the light. You don't have to move to, you don't have to be upstage or downstage. You can be center stage, and you can allow them to be center stage as well. You can use your energy, your attention, your demeanor to bring them into the light and make them feel special along with you. And then it's not so bad that you're center stage, at least from their perspective. And if you don't do that from now until December, you risk having a year and a half coming up of feeling really isolated, because as I said to a Leo that I was very recently dating, everyone makes you feel really special and you make everybody feel like nobody. And that is what you want to work against. You don't want that coming out of anybody's mouth towards you, because it can be hella true and very painful to hear if it's true. So in keeping with that, let's try our hardest at this time to allow the people around us that we love to feel special, to shine, because the sentiment on the other side is you are so special. We love to watch you shine. And you just want to reflect that right back. And as long as you're being that very honest, true mirror, as long as you're that, beautiful sunshine, you're doing great. There's really nothing else you have to do. And sometimes that's frustrating for you guys, because you love a good direction. You love a good set of notes. You love to have something to work off of in your evolution. And so to hear, just shine is kind of like, you need to give me more than that. I'm serious about this. Yeah. And that one thing is probably more compelling than you realize, because so much of your life is spent in such a contentious relationship with that shining, right? Speaking of contentious relationships, your contentious relationships are ending. Anything that is based more on a sort of mean banter than it is based on a loving connection, it ends. Anything that's based more on lust than it is on love ends. Your way is being cleared, because this Venus retrograde really did teach you a lot about yourself. And now you want to implement that. And if there's anybody around who's not going to be good for that process, they remove themselves. But not to worry, because them removing themselves only leaves room for you to get really quiet and work on that internal, really go deep, with what you've learned during the retrograde. You feel really good about the things you know and the things you feel and where you're at in your life. Allow that to make you attractive to the right things. We're not looking for anything. We're not searching for anything. We're just attracting. And some of you have already attracted this into your life. And the way that you've done so is just by stepping back and allowing that empty space. And that empty space is always filled beautifully when you can make that empty space. And you've learned with time how to do so. So it's really beautiful, and it continues on. Again, if you can make it work until December, then you have a year and a half of really blissful experiences. So it's worth it. Now, you will have to rely on yourself a bit right now. And you have very little energy after the 23rd. So it's a bit contentious. Like, you're really tired after the 23rd. You have very little energy, but also nobody's around to really help you, and you have to do things for yourself all by yourself. And that makes you really feel like, well, what is the quality of my giving, because I'm not really getting anything back. And that can send you into a little bit of a spiral, and it starts you wondering about the quality of your giving, and maybe you're not giving enough, or maybe you're giving too much. You can't tell anymore, because if you were giving enough, why would people behave this way? And if you're giving too much, what does that mean? And then you're gonna run into some law of paradoxical intent stuff, where your mind starts going really fast, and you realize at some point, because you are very smart, that when you do things because you want people to like you or love you, it's going to backfire. They are not going to like you or love you. That is the law of paradoxical intent. When you do things because you want something for them or you want something else to happen because of it, the result is usually this. So this period of nobody's around for me, the quality of what I'm getting is nothing compared to the quality of what I'm giving. This period is here for you to learn, especially if you have a serious relationship coming up, how to give for real, how to be honest in your giving, how to give because you want to and only because you want to. Now, there are a lot of you out there who already know how to do this very well. For those of you who don't, huge lesson coming up. For those of you who do, it's just a review, right? We can all take a little reviewing on self-care and putting ourselves first and how much to give and how much to, keep. A large part of what you learn as you mature is how to withhold without feeling like a villain, because you're very good at withholding when you're upset. You're very good at withholding when you want to, teach someone a lesson. But withholding because you are honoring your boundaries and being healthy, some of you have figured it out. A lot of us have not, right? The Vedic Leo moon in me has not figured that out yet. But the more you can associate taking space and time with being healthy and loving, as opposed to the opposite, the better your relationships become and the more grounded you become, which as a fixed sign is really important. So now we get to that first card again, the Ace of Pentacles. That grounding in terms of finances comes in about a month and a half, 2 months. So it's a little contentious until then. You've got your reputation to worry about. You've got your temper to worry about. And you've got this dip in, let's say, the first week of October where you're wondering if people are really there for you the way you're there for them. But that's okay. Now, that's okay because of what we just talked about. If there's something wrong, please go see someone. If you feel like your energy is just really low and you can't bring yourself to, move around the way you used to or interact the way you used to, if you just feel really, really drained, go see someone, get a blood test, get your blood work done, do something, check yourself out. Because it's very common at this time to have something small that's nagging at you that can turn into something really big, and it's only out of lack of staying on top of it. So follow up. I always joke with my Leo friends, they like to follow up. Follow up. Now, whatever perceived money, affection, adventure you see out there on the horizon, keep in mind that your ability to jump to conclusions and create anxiety within yourself is really the only thing that's going to hold you back, especially from now until December. Nothing is holding you back. Everything works to ground you and in your favor, even when things are chaotic, even when things seem very, very dire. You've got control of it. You're okay. You're handling it. But if you let your mind get on top of it, if you let your anxiety get to you, you can take a situation that is quite positive in every way and you can create chaos out of it. And sometimes I think you do that because you're worried. And what you're worried about is stepping so much into the light and gaining a level of success that perhaps you don't think you can handle, or a level of attention or a sort of center stage that's too much for you, and you don't know how to address that, you don't know how to communicate that. And sometimes I think because of that, you'll use your ability to create or jump to conclusions or create a scenario in your head to keep yourself safe from a level of success that's right there for the taking. Or you'll make really bad decisions right at that moment where you're about to level up, knowing that decision will sabotage what you're doing. So don't do that right now. whatever scenarios are coming up in your mind as success starts to pour in, as your connections get deeper, don't allow yourself to go to those places. And especially don't allow yourself to do it because you think, oh, well, I'm just smarter. I just know what's going on. I see the plot. Once you go down that road, everything that makes you a Leo starts to deteriorate. You are in the moment. You are instinct. You are this inherently, wise, beautiful creature. Once you get in your head, things go very wrong. And I think you know that. So honor the best parts of yourself. Honor your immediacy, this ability to be right here, right now. Stay there because it is your power. It is the source of your beauty and your strength. And once we get in our heads, that cowardly lion archetype could get right on top of us. That anxiety. Okay? So we have a lot more to talk about. I have a lot more notes here. Let's get to it in the extended when you can take a look at the cards and it'll all make a lot more sense. I love you. Thank you for spending the Danish sunset with me. Very romantic. I'll see you in a second.